We're talking about this, a very bold move to stem the spread of the rapidly multiplying Omicron variant. Newark Mayor Ras Baraka implementing a vaccine mandate. It's similar to the one in place right here in New York City.
Yeah, this is a big change. The vaccine mandate will cover entertainment venues, including the Prudential Center, restaurants, and gyms in the Brick City. Joining us now is Newark Mayor Ras Baraka. Sir, thank you so much for joining us this morning. I know last week you announced that you'd been swept up in this latest wave of the COVID crisis, tested positive with mild symptoms. How are you feeling this morning?
Well, I tested negative yesterday and I tested negative Friday. Just wanted to make sure today. But I didn't have any symptoms, not mild. I didn't have any, thank God. And that I attribute to being vaccinated and boosted.
That's great news, sir. And now we have this new entertainment and vaccine restriction that you have to show your vaccines to get into some of these different venues. Why put this in place and why now?
Well, if you look at what's happening around the country and in Newark specifically, the cases are spiking incredibly. Right now, our 3-day rolling average was almost at 40% test positivity rate here in the city of Newark. Our 7-day average is at 31%. The state is a little over 12, so we are double the state. It's always been that way since the beginning. For the last half a year, our numbers have always been below the state because, the measures that we had in place in Newark and the parents and families of this city being very diligent about following these rules. Now our numbers are increasing. Our hospitalizations are slightly going up across the state. And as the state trends downward, we're still trending upward in terms of positivity rate.
And Mr. Mayor, we talk about state government and the influence that it can have here. We know that Newark is taking this step, a bold move, but some of the other surrounding cities, it's been sort of piecemeal, some doing this, some doing that, not a uniformed approach for the specific region. Would you like to see more guidance from the state government, perhaps making a mandate if certain areas hit positivity rates? Would that be more helpful to sort of make sure that the cases decline here?
Sure, I think it's always helpful that everybody is doing the same thing. Look, we're on the same page. I know it's difficult at times because some counties and municipalities don't have the same infection rate and not growing at the rate that we're growing. Though hospitalizations across the state are increasing, so that should be alarming because once hospitals become overwhelmed, then we have a different issue that we're dealing with.
So why hasn't the governor done that? Would you like to see the governor take more of a role here?
Well, I don't know. I'm not the governor, so I can't see the state and his point of view. But ultimately, right now I have to look at the numbers that are happening in Newark, which are outrageous. And throughout the entire pandemic, we've been doing things just slightly a little different than what the state has been doing because we believe we may need a different prescription. We have a majority African-American, Latino immigrant community. We have a 200% more likely chance of dying from COVID than anybody else, which means that the things that we have to do just has to be a little bit more forceful.
And it is different. Like you said, we've been dealing with this vaccine mandate in New York City. It started the implementation stage around August. You guys are now doing it now. And you probably saw some of the issues that we came up against. Very few, but there was some pushback there. How are you prepared to deal with that in terms of implementation, maybe some people not wanting to comply? How's it going to work for you?
Yeah, so that's why we staggered it a little bit. We allowed January 10th to begin, and we spoke about it earlier, to get the restaurants and the proprietors prepared to put an infrastructure together to check people's vaccination card. We gave a 3-week time period after that to get the second vaccination. About 70% of the people in Newark are fully vaccinated anyway. 85%, I'm talking 12 and up, 84% of them have at least one shot. So the overwhelming majority of the residents have at least one shot. We have to get them to get that other shot because we know vaccinated people have a little bit more protection from Omicron, this variant, than everybody else does. And we want to prevent them from being hospitalized, and we want to prevent them from dying.
And we're speaking about the Omicron variant seen rapidly spreading, especially in your area as well. Talk to us about the new CDC rule that cuts out isolation time after exposure. Do you think that's going to help people just kind of get back to work? Because as of right now, it's almost like you can get exposed anywhere with it spreading so rapidly.
Yeah, I am afraid of that. I think the issue is more with folks that are very essential, healthcare workers, police officers, firemen, all folks like that, where the numbers are growing, and when those people out, those services are not only essential, they become life-threatening if folks are not around. So to think of a way to get those people to come back to work is the right thing to do, particularly if they're asymptomatic, if folks have been vaccinated and boosted. I think it's the right thing to do. It only took 5 days for me to get over, to test negative from positive anyway.
That's good news for sure, and that's such an interesting perspective that you have, given that you didn't have any symptoms and that this is directly affecting to that. Such an interesting perspective there. I want to talk to you a little bit about some of the economic recovery in Newark. Obviously, the Prudential Center, the Ironbound section, these are very important sections, especially people coming from outside of the city into Newark. What are you hearing from business owners who may have concerns about this new mandate that's going to be put in place here in the next few days?
Well, of course, businesses are uneasy. They're nervous about what it portends. Obviously, they had their businesses shut down for so long. Any kind of change is going to alarm them, particularly since they just began to start getting their business back in action and motion. But I would say to folks that, this is probably a lot better than closing the businesses down altogether. If the hospitals become overrun, if vaccinated people were dying and being hospitalized at the same rate, then that will probably be the remedy. Right now, having people vaccinated is a lot better. And plus, the folks in Newark are, for the most part, are vaccinated and getting vaccinated. We need to get them to get boosted. And I think that people outside of the city are beginning to, in other places, understand that as well. And I think that though businesses might be affected, I do not think they'll be affected as much as they were, I would say, last year when this thing began, or 2020, excuse me. Yeah.
It's been a long 18 months. Mr. Mayor, thank you so much for joining us, and so happy to hear that you tested negative.
Thank you. I appreciate it.